Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Again, it's great to see you. I love this gathering that we have on Christmas Eve, the joy of gathering together with faces old and new, the celebration and the singing and the routines and the traditions. Saying this is my 19th Christmas Eve as a pastor, and it still, throughout the day, fills me with excitement getting ready to come here and gather with you all this evening. So again, thank you for being here. The challenge that I face every Christmas Eve is I have so much that I want to say about Christmas, about what the birth of Jesus means for us and for the world and for history, about how we make sense of all of this in our lives. And frankly, I love you all too much to say everything I want to say on Christmas Eve. And I know that some of us, don't want to point any fingers, but some of us are here because we want to make mom or dad or grandparents happy, and I understand that. And I don't want to do that to you either. I'm glad that you're here. So I want to talk about one thing. And I want to talk about just the simple story itself. Strip away all of the extraordinariness of it. Let's not talk about the theology of a virgin birth or angels showing up or whether Jesus was born in the winter or the spring or the fall. We can overlook sometimes the power of even the simplest part of this story when we strip it all away. If you've ever been present when a child is born, if you've ever heard the laugh of a newborn or a toddler, if you've ever smelt that smell on the top of a baby's head, tell me that's not a miracle in and of itself. Take away all the rest of it and just look at the child being born. The things that have to come together to bring new life into this world. The right set of parents and lines and the circumstances. The miracle of childbirth, of surviving childbirth 2,000 years ago. The prayer that it doesn't become as dangerous now as it was then. Hans Christian Andersen once said that the world is a series of miracles, but we're so used to them that we call them everyday things. The world is a series of miracles, but we're so used to them that we call them everyday things. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is the story of St. Paul. And if you know the story of St. Paul, he has this experience where he's struck blind by God, and he's been doing terrible things, and God calls him to do some great things that he can't see, and he's taken and somebody prays over him, and this is the part that I love. And the book of Acts says that the scales fall away from his eyes. I wonder if the miracle of Christmas, as much as it is the angels and Mary and the Holy Spirit and the work that Jesus will do in his life, I wonder if the miracle of Jesus is the opening up of our eyes to the miraculous in our daily lives, to the ways that God continues to work all around us. The miracle of Christmas pulls our eyes out of the sky, pulls our heads out of the clouds, and turns our attention to the world in which we live, where God says, this world and you that live in it are so important that I'm coming there, Emmanuel, God with us. That the hope is not what comes later or what happens above, but what God is doing here among us right now. God with us. about what God is doing in the world around us right now. If you've ever found that person who understands you, whether that's a friend or a coworker or a spouse or a sibling, tell me that's not a miracle. Christmas is waiting to happen again and again. When we encounter these miracles of incarnation, these miracles in the world around us. When a single parent puts food on the table tonight after working a 12-hour shift, it's the miracle of Christmas. When an estranged family member gets that phone call reaching out, it's the miracle of Christmas again. Christmas calls us to the work of this world, out of any sort of otherworldly faith that focuses on what comes next, and first and foremost on this world in which God has placed us and which God cared so much about, that God was willing to become one of us. One of my favorite writers, Howard Thurman, talks about this. He says, when the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and the princes are back home, when the shepherds have returned to their flocks in the field, then the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among siblings, and to make music in the heart. This is the work of Christmas. When we let those scales fall from our eyes at Christmas, when we can be filled with wonder and amazement and childlike joy at these everyday miracles, when we can see it, we can begin to be it and become it in the world. When we can see what God has already done, we can begin to carry those miraculous moments of love and joy and wonder and peace and justice into the world. Then the work of Christmas begins.